Hello and welcome to lesson 96 of the Learning Guitar series. In this particular lesson, we're going to be talking about chords, and in this part 3, we're basically completing the neck of the guitar, and we're looking at the area of the neck in between fret 9 and basically fret 15. In part 1, we looked at this area of the neck. Part 2, we looked at this area of the neck, and basically we're completing it. So it's an important milestone in that sense. Let's look at the PDF straight away that comes with the lesson. It's kind of self-explanatory. But once again, you have 2-5-1 progressions in the key of C, so D minor, G7, C major, quite a few chords once again to study. And the way you can look at it is, once again, like either as a 2-5-1, so you can take these three chords and practice them, then these three chord shapes and practice them, or you can look at it as in a vertical manner where you're looking at different versions of the same chord. So in terms of practicing this, you can apply rhythm to it, or simply, arpeggiate the chords. I'll give you an example. Like, so if we take the first 4 or 5 examples, like, you could play like this. This is D minor, G7, C major with a third in the bass, D minor 6, G7 sharp 9, C major 7. And as you can see, I'm giving it a rhythm, in this case, some sort of a bossa rhythm. We could do it in many different ways. I mean, it's like, whatever rhythm, it's interesting for you. Of course, we could also right-hand arpeggiate the chords, so we could even approach them this way. So, for example, if you're practicing this on an acoustic guitar or nylon string guitar, it might sound very nice arpeggiated. Once you establish a right-hand pattern, and in future lessons, we're going to look more at the right hand in terms of arpeggios and stuff, but rhythm in general. But once you establish a pattern, just make sure that maybe you're using the same pattern. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the pattern, maybe you try and play all the chords with the same kind of pattern. So I don't know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So this idea of giving consistency, if anything else. So as I say, the PDF is pretty explanatory. So basically, go through the chords. I'm sure you might have some questions, and feel free to to message me about it. But at the end of the day, if you follow basically what the intervals are saying, so the number in the dot, it's going to make clear to you why this is written as D minor 9, although maybe the D note itself is not even in the chord. It's basically a chord substitutions. Same thing where you have slash chords, where basically this is a G triad with an F in the bass, but actually from a point of view of G, because that's what we're trying to play. If you look at the intervals, it's still a G7, as a matter of fact. Obviously, substitutions bring different sounds to a 2-5-1, and also gives us the opportunity to try different things, get used to diminished chords, augmented chords, like alterations, and they all have a different sound. What I mean is, like, if I play D minor like this, and then instead of playing like a big G7, like this, I do what I established before, like, so maybe a G triad with a F in the bass. That's an interesting sound, because you're going from this and it's still a 2-5-1. I mean, the progression is still D minor, G7, C major. But of course, now you got a different sound because it's the bass that is moving. Even for C major 7, I was playing C major 7, but with a third in the bass, which is one of the shapes there, which is an interesting sound. And as you will see from the PDF, at the end of the day, what I'm doing, I could do a G triad with the E in the bass, so basically playing E minor 7 instead. That's another possible substitution for C major. So you would have something like this. And this is still the equivalent of a 2-5-1. It's all about sounds at the end of the day, and how substitutions in a way modernized the sound of old style 1950 2-5-1. But as I mentioned before, this is an excuse for us to study minor chords, dominant chords, major chords. That's the entire idea. So it's more of an excuse rather than trying to impose on you that you're learning jazz or something. Now, what I wanted to discuss with you this time as you know, as we completed the neck of the guitar, is once again how to retain all this, because unlike scales, the fact that we're doing up and down with it makes it easier to develop both a muscle memory of them and a photographic memory of them. Just for those, again, said this before, muscle memory only means that because we're repeating the same motion over and over, then our muscles are able to recall it without us having to really think about it. It's be like walking. Our brain is still saying left and right our leg, but we don't really have to think about it, which allows us to multitask. So when we're playing, you know, our muscles play a C major without having to tell ourselves, okay, put that finger there, do this, do that. So repetition, you know, when it's done correctly, so when you keep playing correctly the same thing, kind of produces muscle memory. And photographic memory is basically what you're developing by looking at the neck of the guitar while you're studying, so that thereafter you can do certain motion and reach certain places without having to look at the guitar. So photographic memory, in a way, first you're taking the photo of it, and then you can work out on memory, you know. So when it comes to scale, because, you know, maybe it's a simpler argument, maybe because it's one note at a time, it's one finger at a time moving, but as opposed to chords, obviously it's 3-4 fingers having to do something. But the muscle memory comes, is, you know, you do these exercises, you just keep doing, maybe you don't do the entire PDF at once. You take, you know, 10 examples, and you just keep repeating those for a few days. They slowly become a muscle memory. Okay, so that's not an issue. Same thing for photographic memory for as long as you look. Now, the problem is, of course, all these PDFs, for it not to be 700 pages of it when it comes to chords, are in C, which means as you're practicing this all over the neck of the guitar, you're developing a very good photographic memory in the key of C, which means, you know, unlike every song you play is in the key of C, now the moment you want to play something in E flat, you'll have the muscle memory of the chord, but you kind of don't know what it is because you're lacking the photographic memory of it. So you'll have to stop and think about it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The idea of stopping and having to think about it, that's how you learn. Now, how can we go about it? Because that's, as I said, the important part is to retain them, to remember these chords, because like as you do them with the PDF in front of you, you will obviously execute it. The question is, 3 weeks after, do you still remember? You know, that's the idea. And the best way to practice chords, to my knowledge, is to actually apply them, to actually play chords rather than, you know, think about it, and maybe apply them to a song that you like. So you look at a chart and, you know, it comes with chords, and you literally try and replace existing chords with variations of them. So a song can be incredibly easy just to be C major and A minor, but now you start using, you know, C major 7, C major 9, going to A minor 6, whatever. You have minor shapes, you have major shapes there. We stop thinking in terms of just, oh, it's C major, it has to be this, right? What really helps the thinking process, though, is to force ourselves at first to work in areas of the neck. What I mean by that is, like, in a way, if you look at part 3 of the PDF and you're looking at D minor and you're playing D minor up here, okay, this is one of the shapes, right? This is D minor 7. You might want to start working it backwards and tell yourself what's going on, in the sense that if this is D minor 7, obviously this is C sharp minor 7, and this is C minor 7, because your brain is going to start having references. In the case of this particular shape, the reference is kind of easy because we look at the guitar from above. And since I'm playing D minor 7 and my top note is literally a D, that's the root note. If I know the name of the notes on the 6th string of the guitar, it makes it easy to think, okay, if this is D minor, this has to be G minor because this is G, right? And this is kind of like the easiest of example, because not on every chord shape, the root note is always on top. So you develop in time all sorts of photographic memory trick to recall things. So you might want to take a chord progression and, I don't know, C major, G minor, going to A7, going to D minor. I'm just going random here, and try to execute it in an area of the neck, because this will force you to transpose some of the shapes that you learned. And maybe when you learned them were up here, but now you're working down here. So in the case I just gave you, I don't know, C major, I might do it here. And this is, you know, maybe some of the chords we did in the part 1. G minor, well, it's here. I'm looking at all the shapes for minor that I did up here, but now I'm transposing it down there. And the guitar, from this point of view, is a bit easier, obviously, because we are a transposing instrument. All these shapes that you're learning in this, and there are many, obviously, but in 3 parts is, I don't know, maybe 15 pages worth of chords just for a 2-5-1. But at the end of the day, once you have the muscle memory will develop when you're doing it up here. So to execute it down here is going to be exactly the same. You're not learning something new. The only difference is going to be the size of the frets, because obviously the frets here are a bit larger, smaller, and here are a bit larger. But the mechanics of it, the way you move, is going to end up around. No, that's the muscle memory that's established. What you're establishing now by doing this kind of exercise is a photographic memory, like a quick recall. There is G minor. Maybe I just played C major because I'm playing a song and I'm looking at a chart, and then the next chord is G minor. So like I'm not going to go, oh, it's G minor. I'm going to go, I don't know, up here, because that's the only shape I know because I've done, PDF part 1 or something. Well, there is a G minor there. It's somewhere, right? In this case, I can take this and transpose it there, right? So I don't know, G major, C minor, and then I say A7. That's an A7. That's one of them. Then I say D minor. That's it. And now I have my progression. I can just look at it. And of course, when we did, say, C major 7 this way, we also did all sorts of variations of C based on, this is basically a shape of A. So I can start moving things around. Then G minor 6, G minor 9, G minor 11, G minor 11 with a flat 7. And these are all shapes that I've just started up here. I'm just moving it down there. Same thing for A7. I can move this way. I can think it diminished. And that's my D minor, one example of it. These are all D minor chords, right? So bottom line, you might want to start, once you feel comfortable enough with the muscle memory of the various shape in the key of C, either to create random progression. First of all, transpose everything. So like you take a shape and you start, it's the photographic memory you're training. It's not your understanding of it. When we talk about muscle memory and photographic memory, please don't forget, it's not about you understanding the thing. You understanding the thing takes literally a minute. It's the photographic memory and muscle memory instead is something that we train over time, because when we're playing, we don't have the time. It has to become kind of like, like walking. You decide to walk, you walk. You don't have to organize instructions for it, or am I supposed to move my leg first? No, you just do it. And songs, unless you're playing a ballad at 50 BPM, on average, a song is going to be 100, 120 BPM. Your things are happening, has to happen in a natural way. Also because you want to, focus on the feelings you're putting into the playing rather than where my finger's supposed to go. The good thing about muscle memory and photographic memory, especially muscle memory, is that it allows you to multitask. The moment your right hand and your left hand are doing something by memory, you can focus on the lyrics if you have two singles on top of that, or the expression you're putting into your playing, other music. You can focus on music, bottom line, as opposed to the technicality of music, right? Now, one exercise you can start to do in order for you to develop even a better and more complete chord knowledge and photographic knowledge of chords, it's of course it's to apply, to create exercises applied to areas of the neck, whatever the areas you want it to be, applied to a cycle of fourths we've done in the past. And because the moment you apply it to a cycle of fourths, that forces you not only to play everything in an area of the neck, but you're covering all 12 keys at the same time. So that's one way of doing it. That's how I would do it maybe after 2-3 weeks that I'm working on chord, and I simply want to verify, okay, do I actually know them in all keys? Independently from the shapes, right? That's always a good exercise. But as I said, another way could be, okay, today I'm doing everything in the key of C. Tomorrow I'm going to move everything in the key of E flat. So it forces whatever you've done on the PDF to move them, say in this case, a tone and a half up, at least. And it will open up new shapes down here. So it's in a way, the important part is you understand the goal. The goal is to develop a muscle memory of how the chords are shaped, and the photographic memory as in terms of where they are, so that you don't feel the need of having to jump somewhere else in the neck of the guitar because you're not aware of that the shape is right there. When it comes to the cycle of fourths, say if I start in G, the fourth of G is C, the fourth of C is F. So you're looking at a chord progression, which is G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, and D. And from D, you're back to G. So as you can see, I just navigated all 12 keys in a chord sequence. You could start just with major chords. So like major chords played in the cycle of fourths. So if I start, let's say I'm doing it in this area of the neck of the guitar. If I go, okay, let's start from G, maybe I play this G major 7. It could be any shape of G major, but, let's... And after G is C. After C is F. After F is B flat. After B flat is E flat. And this is F major 7 with a 9, for example. A flat. C sharp or D flat. Then you have F sharp. Then you have B, or B major 7, B major 6, or if you want to put the bass in there. Then you have E, A, D, and back to G. Now, not only I've just checked that I knew at least one chord shape per major chord. Now, independently if it was a major 7, a major 9, whatever, you add the new voicings as you go. But that's a good exercise. Not only that happened, as you noticed, by the time I played G again, I found myself up here. So I was already even going up on the neck of the guitar. You don't have to, but actually the cycle of fourths kind of creates this effect that as you go through the fourths, as you restart, it keeps you up on the neck of the guitar, which means that you're practicing not only this particular area of the neck, you're practicing that chord pretty much everywhere. It's a tough exercise because at first you literally have to think about it and probably transpose some of these shapes to find, okay, how do we flat down here? And for example, a shape would be this, which when it comes to the PAF, this kind of shape, so the shape of C in this case, that's what we call it when we do the cage system. This shape, you're starting it up here because this is C major 7, the same shape transposed. So it kind of forces you. But it's that forcing and then the repetition of the exercise that will allow you to retain, those chords and then to recall them when you're playing something else. Obviously, you could do the cycle of fourths applied to a minor chord and you just do the same with minor chords. So like G minor, maybe C minor, F minor, B flat minor. This is B flat minor 11, E flat minor, A flat minor, C sharp minor. This is C sharp minor 11, for example, like F sharp minor 11, B minor. Okay, I like B minor 11 with a flat 7, E minor, A minor, maybe this, D minor. Maybe I'll do this. I like using empty bass, D in the bass, and again, and I'm back to G minor. Could do the same. Could do the same with the dominant chords. So that's a good recap exercise, but it's a tough one because at first you'll have to figure it out. And if it can help, maybe like literally write down a bit like these chord charts that I'm using. Write down diagrams of, okay, that's the sequence I'm going to play. Those are exactly the shapes I'm going to play. And memorize it. Like literally play from reading and keep doing it. That's how we retain it. As I say, there is a combination of muscle memory and photographic memory, in particular the photographic memory, where we see E flat and we already see it on the neck of the guitar, wherever we are. It takes a little bit. It's not an easy thing. Chords are a bit harder, in my opinion, to retain than scales. Another, like I said before, another good thing you can do is to take a song that you like in whatever style of music it is. If it's jazz, if it's rock, if it's fusion, it could be just a blues, like you're playing a blues in A. But instead of starting from this position, which is probably the most common because then you're soloing using this pentatonic here, say, okay, I'm going to find A7, E7, D7 and E7, which are basically the chords for the blues in A, and I'm going to find them all down here. I just have to have all those A7 and down here. All those A7s up here, or all those A7, the end, it doesn't have to move too much. That's the entire idea. That's going to allow you to kind of cover the neck of the guitar and, get the thinking going, and then the application of that thinking. And allows you creativity, because now you're not just forced to play this. That's the other idea. A7 doesn't have to be this. I mean, it's nice, nothing wrong with it. But, this is also nice. That's D7. D7, A7, E, D, A. You know, there are different ways. So that's definitely what you want to explore at this stage. I think that's enough in terms of this lesson. I mean, this is more advice in a way than a lesson, and the PDF is clear enough for you to be able to do it without me having to explain sequence by sequence. The important part, hopefully I'm getting across to you, is how you study. Not necessarily like, even if you study something else that is not this. It's more about how you study with the objective of retaining the material so that you can use it for your own music and the way you want to express it. Okay, thank you very much, and until next time.